Hey there, welcome back to Reddit Stories, Cookie Edition. Make sure to like and subscribe to the channel for more Reddit stories.
Wife of 6 years slept with another guy behind my back. I met my wife approximately 10 years ago in an online book club. I didn't know much about her other than the novels she was reading at the time. When I found out she was undergoing chemoradiation for stage 1-4 metastatic cancer, I messaged a handful of men in the group and asked if they would be willing to give me modest presents so I could put together a care package for her. She was overjoyed, delighted, and grateful when she got the item in the mail. We began privately messaging one another, became friends, and ultimately developed into a long-distance romance. I kept sending her letters and tiny presents, which she would unwrap after each treatment session until she ultimately went into remission. We were separated by 1,000 kilometers. I flew to see her, and she flew to see me. She ultimately relocated to my state after much back and forth. We purchased a home together in 2015, were engaged the following year, and married in 2016. On the surface, it seemed to be a wonderful union. We only had one fight in our 6 years of marriage. I was earning decent money, which allowed her to secure her ideal job, which she still holds today. We had a good salary and no children. When the stressors of money and children are removed from a marriage, there is nothing left to dispute about. If we had a dispute, we worked it out within hours, or so we thought. I will expand on this later. We sold our home and relocated 1,000 miles to be closer to her family in 2020. In May 2021, she had a hysterectomy due to severe bleeding, required 2 units of blood prior to surgery because her hemoglobin was critically low. I was completely behind her. She took a 12-week leave of absence to heal. I took a 6-week leave of absence from work to care for her. Although the surgeon allowed her to return to work after 6 weeks, I pushed her to take the whole 12 weeks off to heal. She traveled out of state to visit her female friend and coworker. After I returned to work and a week before she was supposed to work. During her stay, she had with a guy with whom she had been having an emotional affair for months. I'm not sure whether I was the first person she had relations with after surgery, or if it was him. He was aware that she was married. It was just by chance that I found the cheating. She was out of town for a conference last weekend. A handful of things happened, which, in hindsight, had nothing to do with the affair, that gave me a nasty feeling in the stomach, and I looked through her computer for the first time in our marriage. I saw the explicit writing and images. I met her at the airport, drove her to our home, stopped in the driveway, and said to her, "Take a look at me. Everything is familiar to me. I'm aware that you've been unfaithful to me. I've seen the pictures and texts. What will happen is as follows. You're going to walk inside and get your necessities. You are welcome to stay with your parents or friends. The next time you hear from me, it will be via my divorce attorney." She didn't say anything negative. As she walked through the house to get her items, I followed her since it seemed like a stranger was entering my home and searching through our possessions. Throughout the whole process, I never raised my voice or raised my hand at her, as I had done for the previous 6 years of our marriage. After she went, I activated the alarm system and rearranged the chairs in front of the front entrance. I was frightened she'd return if I fell asleep. It was as though an invader had broken into my home. During the previous 24 hours, I slept for a total of 50 minutes. My plan after she went was to phone a divorce lawyer the following day. I was unable to take a day off from work. Before I went for work, I texted her to come to the home. The title was in both of our names, so I couldn't legally force her out. I wanted to make sure she didn't do something wild in the home by alone. We planned to meet when I got home from work. We chatted for 2 days straight. Both of us were sobbing a lot. On the surface, our marriage seemed to be a success, but it was plagued by a lack of communication from both of us for 6 years. We both avoided confrontation and preferred to bottle up our emotions. We learned more about each other in 2 days than we had throughout our whole marriage. While she was gone at a conference, I traveled 1.5 hours to assist her 90-year-old grandpa with getting out of bed, providing incontinence care, toileting him, assisting with breakfast, and administering medicine. This was the second time in 2 weeks that it had happened. She emailed me to tell me how much she loved me and how much she appreciated what I was doing for her grandpa. She says she was planning to call it quits with me once she returned from the conference. To prevent hurting me, break up under the excuse of falling out of love with me, and don't discuss the adultery. I honestly don't believe her, and have a strong suspicion that she would have continued to dupe me. Every single problem could have been addressed if every one of us had put just a little more effort. While we had some comparable interests, we couldn't connect on the ones that were most important to each of us. On the first day, I completely blamed her. The next day, I began to blame myself for not being a more attentive spouse. After working from home all day, all she wanted to do when I got home from work was chat to me. After hard for 12 hours, all I wanted was peace and quiet. She wanted to discuss about societal and personal matters that were important to her, but I didn't even offer to listen since I couldn't connect to her situation. These are only a few instances. There are hundreds more, and I don't pretend to be a perfect spouse. I am not without flaws. But I did my best to make her happy, at least as much as and in the ways that I could. I discovered her at a low period in her life: abusive previous marriage, cancer, assault, anxiety, depression, seizures, and future alcohol abuse. With the exception of the affair, we will be divorcing at the pinnacle of her life. She is in remission from cancer, has been alcohol-free for 1.5 years, has had no seizures in over 3 years, her anxiety and depression are under control, and she has a wonderful group of friends and family that live nearby. And I'm now at my lowest moment. After the relocation, I had to uproot my life for her, and I had no local support. I haven't informed my parents because I'm afraid they'll be heartbroken. I'm scared the news will send them both to the hospital since they loved her so much. We are now living in our home as roommates/friends. We have promised to make the divorce and transition as easy for both of us as possible, even if it takes months. She offered for me to retain the home, the newer vehicle, both of our animals, and so on. We went to a virtual Al-Anon for family meeting yesterday. Therapy for family members of alcoholics. What struck me was the idea that family members should not blame themselves for the actions of alcoholics. I feel like I'm blaming myself for my wife's adultery, although I'm the true sufferer in this situation. I'm here to seek advice from those who have been through similar circumstances. When the person in whom I had entire faith betrays me in this manner, I'll have to learn to trust my future mate. This Saturday is my first session with Infidelity Survivors Anonymous. Thank you for allowing me to vent. Update. I'll provide this information to provide context, not to justify her cheating. My first serious relationship was with her. I had a few of flings before her, but they didn't turn into anything significant because of an issue I had, Ed. And although we had a hot physical relations life in LDR, the issue reappeared when we moved in together. We spent months without having at one point early in the relationship. She urged me to go to the doctor, but I put it off. It's all my fault. I was younger, less mature, and, to be honest, humiliated. Eventually, at the age of 29, I'm now 33, I was tested and discovered that I had extremely low testosterone levels. And I'm not sure how long I've been living this way. I'm guessing a decade, since I've always felt that I had less energy than my contemporaries. At the time, I got teeth replacement and felt like a new man. We began having physical relations again, but it was never as amazing as it had been in LDR, and it never lived up to the dream we had prior to living together. There were still occasions when I couldn't keep going, but they were much less frequent than previously. She did comment yesterday that although there was less often, she enjoyed it when we did have it. What I lacked in one area, I made up for in another. I gave her an oral, which she enjoyed. Likewise, vice versa. Recently, I began to notice that my T levels had dropped again. Now that I'm more mature, I went to be tested and will have a follow-up appointment next week to receive the findings. Again, this is not to belittle her betrayal. But, if I'm going to speak about her defects, it's only fair that I offer mine own to round out the picture.
Thanks for watching my video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more Reddit stories.